The notion of a good death has been contemplated through the ages, an elusive ideal that crosses cultural, philosophical, and spiritual boundaries. What does it mean to die well, and who determines the criteria for such a death? In a world where death is often shrouded in fear, avoidance, or clinical detachment, the concept of a good death invites us to reconsider our relationship with mortality, not merely as an end but as a profound passage marked by dignity, meaning, and perhaps even transcendence. Philosophers and ethicists have wrestled with this question, probing the nature of human existence and the values that should guide the final moments of life. The idea is as much about the quality of dying as it is about the life that precedes it. Reflecting on what it means to live authentically in the shadow of death, at the heart of reflections on a good death lies the tension between control and surrender. The desire to maintain autonomy, to choose when and how one dies, clashes with the inevitable vulnerability and unpredictability of the dying process. For some, a good death means retaining agency, making informed decisions about medical interventions, and preserving one's identity until the last breath. This view aligns with contemporary emphases on patient rights and hospice care, where the avoidance of unnecessary suffering and the honoring of personal wishes take precedence. It is a death framed by consciousness, clarity, and the absence of pain, yet, the paradox emerges in the recognition that death, by its nature, eludes control. To accept mortality may require a surrender not only of bodily functions but of ego and desire. Many philosophical traditions highlight the importance of this acceptance, framing death as a transition rather than an end. In Stoicism, for instance, a good death is one embraced with equanimity, free from fear or regret, a final act of harmony with the cosmos. Buddhist thought speaks of dying with mindfulness and detachment, cultivating awareness that frees the soul from the cycles of suffering and rebirth. These perspectives suggest that a good death involves a deep inner transformation, one that transcends physical pain or external circumstances. The ethical dimensions of a good death raise profound questions about societal responsibilities and the meaning of compassion. In modern medicine, advances in technology have extended life but also complicated the dying process, sometimes prolonging suffering or stripping away the human elements of care. Ethical debates over euthanasia, assisted suicide, and palliative sedation hinge on competing values: the sanctity of life, the relief of suffering, and respect for autonomy. What constitutes a good death in these contexts becomes a battleground of principles, where cultural, religious, and personal beliefs intersect and sometimes conflict. Furthermore, the relational aspect of dying cannot be overlooked. Death is not only an individual event but a shared experience involving family, caregivers, and communities. The presence of loved ones, the opportunity for reconciliation or forgiveness, and the expression of meaning and love can shape the quality of the dying moment. A good death may thus be one imbued with connection and communication, where the boundaries between self and others soften, and where the narrative of a life finds closure or continuation in memory. Philosophically, a good death also invites reflection on the meaning of life itself. What does it mean to live well if death is the ultimate horizon? Some thinkers propose that the awareness of death gives life its urgency and depth, transforming mundane existence into a precious journey. To die well is to have lived with integrity, courage, and authenticity, qualities that illuminate the final chapter with coherence and grace. In this sense, the good death is inseparable from the good life, a culmination rather than a rupture. The mystery of death ensures that any definitive definition of a good death remains elusive. Cultural narratives, personal values, and existential fears color our understanding in complex ways. Yet, this very ambiguity opens space for dialogue, reflection, and a more compassionate approach to dying. It challenges societies to move beyond denial and fear, fostering environments where death is neither a failure nor a taboo but a natural part of the human experience worthy of dignity and respect. In contemplating what it means to die well, we confront our own mortality and, paradoxically, affirm the vitality of life. The good death becomes a mirror reflecting the values we hold most dear: autonomy and surrender, suffering and peace, individuality and connection. It beckons us toward a deeper understanding of what it means to be human, situated in time and bound by the inescapable certainty of the end. This reflection, at once personal and universal, mysterious and illuminating, invites an ongoing conversation that transcends fear and embraces the profound complexity of our final journey.